Hello, everyone, and welcome to Snap Take. This is Glazer of Snap Judgments, the official podcast of Marvel Snap Zone. And today we've got three incredible decks for you, including the deck that currently hit number 2 on the Infinite Leaderboard. But I want to start out because people were asking me about this all day by going over all of the stuff that people are getting if they are over 500 CL for the outage caused by the ByteDance disaster. So, American players are getting an absolute bonanza of stuff sometime next week. We don't know exactly when, but we know that this is scheduled to come out next week. So, anyone over 500 collection level is getting 2 Spotlight Keys, 5,000 Season Pass XP, which is really nice, even if you don't buy the Season Pass, 4,150 credits, 6,200 Collector's Tokens, 1,000 gold, 5 Gold Conquest tickets, 3 Infinite Conquest tickets, 4,000 Conquest medals, a Mystery variant, 6 Premium Mystery variants. That's the no pixel one cosmic red border, one cosmic gold, and what amounts to be like 700 or so boosters. So that's a really, really great deal for Americans. I want to make a couple of things clear. This is about, it ends up being between the 1,000 gold, the 4,150 credits, and the 2 spotlight keys. It ends up being about enough for 3 spotlight keys. I want to be real clear. You should never be opening with less than 4 spotlight keys. Please get that through your head. It is a gamble. It is a poor gamble that can leave you completely broke. Do not open with less than 4 spotlight keys. Yes, this will give you enough for 3. Hold it. You will also have all these collector's tokens, and they might come out before Thursday. But Thursday is an OTA, so you probably would rather wait until after the OTA to make any decisions about collector's tokens. If you decide that you've been dying for Galacta and you get Galacta, and all of a sudden she's a 4/4, you're going to feel miserable. I know a bunch of people who the week before the last OTA got Hydra Bob, as I was saying, wait, the OTA is coming. Please wait for the OTA this Thursday before you decide to use your tokens. Please do not use your sudden bonanza of spotlight keys and credits for a card unless you get to 4 spotlight keys. That is my PSA for this. This is amazingly generous. This is, in fact, the most generous they've ever been, and they are always pretty generous about their payback for mistakes. So the downtime package is a huge win for everyone who plays Marvel Snap. Now, they didn't want to leave the rest of the world out. This is for only US based players who suffered from the outage, right? So if you are not a US based player, whether you used a VPN as a US based player or not, they are giving you this package for the rest of the world. So if you're in Canada, if you're in Vietnam, if you're in wherever the hell else people play Marvel Snap, you get the idea. Australia, England, Italy, you will be getting this awesome one just because they don't want to leave everyone else out. They're just trying to be generous and make sure everyone is happy in this time of trial. They're giving 2 spotlight keys, 3,000 collector's tokens, 1,500 credits, 2 variants, just 1 mystery, 1 premium, 1 cosmic gold, 1 cosmic red, and then a few less boosters. Still a great deal because y'all didn't lose out on Marvel Snap for any amount of time. This is amazing. If you have not been playing Marvel Snap, this is a wonderful time to start. Please do check this out. I don't know what else to say. This is amazingly generous. Also, that 1,000 gold, don't forget, next month there's a 4,500 gold anti-venom bundle. If this puts you close to that, save. That anti-venom bundle is incredible value, along with coming with an S-tier Series 5 card. So you want to do that. This is amazing. I don't have any like huge breakdowns, except that this is absolutely phenomenal. Now, Second Dinner also announced that they're restoring Marvel Snap on Google Play Store in the US at 6 p.m. and that in-app purchases and app downloads and updates for Android players are going to be unavailable for a couple of days. So if you're trying to buy something in shop, you need to go to marvelsnap.com. Over on marvelsnap.com, you can buy anything you want. You just need your Snap ID. Cool? Let's get to our first deck. Ika has a discard Victoria Hand. This has been the style of Victoria Hand that I have enjoyed the most, although Alex Kochia's deck with Grandmaster in the place of Collector is still an absolute tier 1 deck. That is, in my opinion, the best Bullseye home to date. I think that this Ika discard V hand is damn near as good. This is a stellar list that Ika had a lot of success with. Then I watched Toxic Soul King have a lot of success with. I think that this sort of squares the circle of what you want to do with Victoria Hand in combination with Bullseye. So Bullseye is very strong, right? But for the best Bullseye decks, what you really want to do to make them sing is you want to go Bullseye and then play Modok, right? And then either right before or right after you Modok, assuming you have Swarm, assuming you have something big, you can trigger your Bullseye, and then you're totally set, right? Like your Morbius gets like a 20 power thing, and all of a sudden your Collector shoots up. If you're running whatchamacallit, Meek, that shoots up, and you have all this extra power from it. That all makes perfect sense, right? but you don't always see those cards. And when you don't see those exact cards, the list can really, really struggle. So what this list does is it says, okay, Quinjet, Victoria Hand, and either Swarm or Helicarrier are just a whole backup plan. I played several times playing similar decks today on stream, yesterday on stream technically, a bunch of O5 swarms, like 25, 30 power of O5 swarms at the end of the game. We add in Helicarrier, you can occasionally get like a 5-2 Iron Man type card, and just everything starts to come together. And all that costs one less because of Quinjet. This list is really, really squaring the circle. If you want to do the double up on Victoria Hand thing, you can do that with Moon Girl just fine. You can also double up on Dock and Shards to get that extra power. That allows you to grow your collector. The Moon Girl and the Helicarrier allow you to work the collector. This is a deck where all of the pieces really sing together. You're still going to really want Swarm. Swarm is like the spoon that stirs the drink for all of these decks. You really want Swarm. You really want to be able to get rid of Swarm. But if you can pull that off, this list is absolutely insane. You can find Ika streaming all sorts of creative decks at twitch.tv/Ika_MTS. If you'd like to see him play this list and you ask nicely, I'm sure he would be happy to. This deck needs Bullseye, MODOK, and Victoria Hand. Those are the 3 cards you need. We're actually going to see Victoria Hand in 3 lists today. I'm just going to let you know. She is completely replaceable in the 3rd of them, though. Dakin can be Frigga or Mystique if you don't have it, but if you bought the season pass, guess what? You have Dakin. All right, so this has a 56% win rate in 90 games, which is really solid. Ika is top 100 infinite. This isn't the highest win rate thing in the world, but it's got a good cube rate and a good win rate at high infinite. Turn 1, you want Quinjet. Blade if you have Swarm or Helicarrier. Yes, you will Blade off a Helicarrier right away because you just play a card. You lose 1 draw, but you have so many more options later. And if you draw into that MODOK, you can hold a bunch of 1s. If you see Victoria Hand, there's just so much extra power for blading off the Helicarrier on 1. Turn 2, you generally want to get Collector out because Collector needs to be out for if you decide to discard that Helicarrier or if you decide to Moon Girl later. Morbius, I don't know why I keep typing Mobius, stupid brain, but Morbius is absolutely insanely strong. Morbius is excellent at growing huge, right? But because he's an ongoing, you can play him later without any real problem. So unless you're going to try a random discard, and this deck does not really have random discards, unless you're going to try a random discard or you're very concerned about your curve, you want to get Collector out first. Victoria Hand is likewise great, but Morbius and Hand are also really, really great Moon Girl targets. So if you have either at the start of your hand and you have Collector and Moon Girl, you might want to get 2 Morbiuses and Victoria Hand. If you Moon Girl on sorry, if you Moon Girl on 4, you can spend your turn 5 going Morbius, Morbius, or Victoria Hand, Morbius just fine. You can even play one of those 2 cards if you have Quinjet out. You can play the duplicate with the MODOK on the last turn, which is incredibly strong. You can also play Colleen on that turn if you have Blade or if you have Swarm, you can also Blade that turn if you have Swarm. In fact, I will often, not often, but once in a while, depending on what's in my hand and what I'm thinking of what my opponent is doing, if I have any information, Blade off Swarm over playing a different 2-drop. Turn 3, I'm usually trying to get out Bullseye. If I'm going to Moon Girl, again, and my hand is relatively empty, if I went Quinjet Collector and then I can immediately go Dakin, and I know I have Moon Girl that I'm going to play, then perhaps, I can go Dakin and then I can Moon Girl and get the second shard. Getting the second shard is obviously very powerful in this list. You don't feel like you have to do it, but it's nice when it happens. Sometimes the plan comes together. If not, you can do 2/2s because you might have noticed that there's a million 2-drops this deck wants. Turn 5, sometimes you're going to MODOK. Sometimes you played a Victoria Hand and you've got a Helicarrier and you're just going to want a MODOK to see what you got so you can make some plans. Sometimes you're even going to want a MODOK and Bullseye here so you can MODOK and then get rid of some of the cheap stuff to chuck it at people and still draw cards, especially if you have Quinjet out. Or you can just play, you can play Bullseye with Victoria Hand or Morbius just fine on this turn. Totally fine. The more likely play, though, is MODOK at the end of the game and trigger Bullseye or play a bunch of Swarms. You have to decide what's more power, triggering Bullseye to grow that Morbius and Collector, or playing a bunch of 0/5 Swarms. Again, I was fairly often with this list, or lists similar to this, getting 5 or 6 30 power Swarms. Sorry, 5 or 6 5-power Swarms for 30, 25, 30 power at the end of the game, which is just real hard to beat. I don't know if you know that, but Dr. Doom is a 6/15. You're paying 0, so you can still play other cards, and you're getting like 30 power out of these Swarms. It's absolutely insane. Honifer is back at rank 2 with this beast of a deck that we're going to talk about next. But first, one last look at this. I really love this list. I don't know what else to say. I think that this list is an absolute joy to play, and more people should be playing it right now. Speaking of, if you'd like the best decks to play in Marvel Snap, please hit that sub button. We bring you at least 3 brand new decks every single day on this channel, 7 days a week. We have new videos coming out. We cover all things Marvel Snap. We often do 2 videos a week. We sometimes will end up releasing like 10 videos in a week. I think we did 10 last week. So we'll be doing at least 8 this week because there is an OTA. So if you want the most Marvel Snap content, you want to be caught up to date with everything, you want the best decks, the most consistent stuff, please hit that sub, hit that like, hit that comment. It helps us a ton. The bottom right corner of your screen, that YouTube button, is how you click it. We're also giving away a season pass. I'm actually going to announce it tomorrow because I realized I didn't give enough time for the Saturday video to get comments before I gave away that extra Iron Patriot. But we're giving away an Iron Patriot. So if you're looking for Iron Patriot, all you have to do is sub and like. I'll tell you what to comment later this video. And finally, today is the last day to join the Snap Judgments League. It kicks off tomorrow. If you'd like to join Season 5 of the Snap Judgments League and get up to $400 in prizes, please check out our Discord, link in the description of this video. We recognize our people are generally busy adults. Almost everyone who watches this channel, we can see analytics, is an adult. So if you can afford to play 1 game a week, you can join this tournament. That's all we ask. You can win season passes, $400 in cash prizes, and more. Thank you very much to Primed Mind, the Primed Mind app, for supporting us. Go check them out. All right. Finally, the deck I wanted to talk about today. I've been dying to talk about this deck. I literally love this list. This is insane. Honifer is technically currently rank 3, but he's right behind rank 2, and rank 2 is cheating like crazy. So I'm done counting the straight up cheating people if I can avoid it. So Honifer climbed a bunch of ranks at the top of Infinite with this. Ekmati is playing this list around rank 15, 16. Cam was playing this at around rank 10. This is one of the very best decks in all of Marvel Snap right now, period, bar none. This is such a great idea. Basically, junk is really good into the meta. Almost all the meta decks, all the decks around right now need space to do things, and when you junk up that space, you just get free wins. You still have all the cheap, crazy power that Victoria Hand offers you, right? But in addition to that, you just get an absolute ton. So this deck needs Kate, Victoria Hand, and Misery, and a reminder that Misery is in spotlights in the coming week, although I don't know if you want Ares unless you want to play Scar. We'll talk about that on Tuesday's video. You also probably need Frigga. I kept being like, can you run something else over Frigga? You can potentially try Moonstone over Frigga. I think it's worse, and you're going to want to add an extra ongoing, sorry, not a Professor X, a Mr. Fantastic style card, if you're going to do that, but sorry, wrong way. That's the best I can come up with. Nico can be Maria Hill. In fact, I'm not completely sold on Nico being absolutely necessary here. She's very good, and once in a while she wins games, but she's not entirely pivotal. Iron Patriot is a very good card, obviously one of the best cards in Marvel Snap, but he's a generically good too, and thus Sentinel, a Valentina, a card like that is perfectly fine to replace him. Not Cable. Cable doesn't work with Victoria Hand. You want a card that works with Victoria Hand for that spot. All right, let's go card by card. So we have a junk package. That junk package is made up of the following cards. It is Hood, Titania, Kate Bishop's Acid Arrow, Green Goblin, and Viper. Your general goal is to use Titania or Viper to clog a lane. You get a regular old clog from Green Goblin, right? And hopefully Acid Arrow. So you get that regular clog and they are stuck on space. If you are behind in priority, and it's not hard to be behind in priority here, what you can do is you can play Titania in a lane, and then you can play either Green Goblin or Viper, and that's going to push 2 cards to their side. On the last turn of the game, all you want to do is play like a demon in that lane. That demon is going to hopefully, with Victoria Hand, represent 8 power. That 8 power from that demon plus 5 power from Titania, and remember that's 5 power off the opponent's side, tends to represent 18 power swing within that lane. It's -5 on their side, plus 5 on your side, plus 8 from demon. That's insane. That is a crazy, crazy play, and it wins games. You can do that other ways, right? Like you're perfectly happy to Viper over a Mirage, a Nico, even a Kate, right? But your goal is to Viper over either Hood or use Viper, a Mirage, Nico while you're sending over Titania. If you can pull that off, you've won a lane, and then you just add so much cheap power that it's relatively easy to win another. That's not the only use for Hood in this deck, though. Hood is also absolutely incredible with Nico Minoru. Nico does one of 2 things with Hood that are incredible. She turns him into a demon or she destroys him to draw 2. Either one's incredible. The other play that lets you play Hood relatively early is that you also have, in addition to having Viper, You have Misery, which gives you a second demon. A second demon is, as long as you have Victoria Hand, at least 8 power. If you have 2 Victoria Hands, which is not uncommon, you can end up with 10 power demons. And if you play 2 for 20 energy, that's pretty good in Marvel Snap. There's also one more really great spell from Nico. There's like the +2 is fine, the move is fine, the location change is sometimes pivotal, but one more you can plan for is the copy spell. You're very happy whenever Nico has the copy spell. You're perfectly fine to copy a demon, an Iron Patriot card, a Mirage card, and one of the arrows, but your real goal is to copy Victoria Hand if humanly possible. Make sense so far? Good. We'll come back to the card generators, Mirage, Iron Patriot, and Hawkeye for a second. Victoria Hand is one of an S tier card. She's one of the best cards in the game. She doesn't have a million things she works with here, but what she works with offers a ton of power. The demons are really your goal here. But the Iron Patriot card, if you can get that Iron Patriot off, is an incredible target. The Mirage card has +2, Victoria Hand says +4 immediately. And the arrows are insanely strong. You get the junk arrow, and that's great. Or you get one of the other arrows and you turn them into lane winning threats. Victoria Hand is the key card for this deck, and one of the key plays you can make in this deck is go 2-3 Victoria Hand. The other 2-3 Victoria Hand Frigga, excuse me, for a second Victoria Hand. The other thing you can do with that play, though, is you can on turn 4, you're not always going to want a Misery. You're not always going to have a great play. What you can do is you can play a card like Iron Patriot or Hawkeye with Victoria Hand, and then you can spend part of your turn 5 frigging it and then playing another 2-drop. That works out real well too, in case you were wondering. One last, now let's go back to Mirage, Iron Patriot, and Hawkeye. Generally speaking, I would rather save Mirage for later in the game if possible, but sometimes you have no choice but to play her early. The reason for that is there's a lot of Iron Patriot in the meta. There's a lot of like bounce move in the meta, and if you can Mirage on a turn that they have bounced and you get their giant Human Torch or you get their Iron Patriot discounted card, you are in a very good shot. Kate early gives you clog options early, and move arrow is often very important to know you have it early, while also having the normal arrow, whatever it's called, basic arrow, having the ability to get that power out is relatively strong. Iron Patriot is your goal on turn 2. The best Iron Patriot play, at least in my opinion, is to go Hood, Iron Patriot into Viper. That usually wins the lane because remember, you're putting a -3 on their side. They're fairly likely to feel like they're going to win that lane at that point, and you're very, very ahead. The other thing that play does, or plays like it does, when you get Iron Patriot, the opponent's going to play in that lane, which makes them more susceptible to clog in that lane. So if they're going to put a bunch of stuff there and you drop a Green Goblin and a Demon, or a Green Goblin and Titania, you might not get your bonus, but you might win the game in exchange. All right, we're on to Red Guardian. Red Guardian is your tech card. There's a lot of bounce move around. If you can manage to hit a bullseye or hit a Morbius, then you win those matchups. That's it. We know what Red Guardian does. Last card is Misery. Misery is here largely for Hood. Hood is the best target. It's also really good against opposing junk. There's a lot of opposing crap around. Misery takes care of that. 8 power for 4 is a lot, and you're rarely going to want to get rid of Kate Bishop. You are fairly often perfectly happy to get rid of an extra Mirage. Don't hesitate to get rid of an extra Mirage and get another +2, which again with hand turns into a +4 power card. That is a game-winningly powerful play. That's the deck. Let's go turn by turn. So Honifer was 62% in 100 games and is rank 2 with this. Turn 1, you want Hood or Nico if copy for Victoria Hand, or draw 2 for Hood, Iron Patriot, Kate, and Mirage. What you're going to have to practice is your card placement to make sure that you can have a place to safely play that Misery without blowing up things you don't intend to. You don't really want to blow up a Frigga. That's too much. Turn 4 is Victoria Hand if Frigga, or Iron Patriot over Kate. Turn 3, Frigga if Hand over Goblin. If Viper, you can go Hood into Iron Patriot into Viper all in one lane. Sometimes you're even going to get the clog just from that, and if you don't, then that's a really, really good Titania spot because they're either going to fill it or they're going to get hit with that Titania, and either way, you're pretty damn happy. You just played a 1-5, right? That's your downside in that situation. Turn 4, although be careful of moving cards. Moving cards are your bane in this situation. Turn 4, you want a Viper Green Goblin with Titania, or you can drop 2 2s. If you do drop 2 2s, make sure Hand is the second one in case you want to Frigga on 5. You can also, once in a while, Frigga a Demon on this turn just fine. That's a totally fine play, or Frigga an Iron Patriot card if you got one. Turn 5, generate cards. Play Hood or just drop Hood in Misery. 2 Demons at the end of the game is extremely strong. And then turn 6 is all the generated stuff you can. We'll look at my brew after this, but this is one of the best lists in Marvel Snap, period. Like, bar none. Play it carefully. Play it considering your locations. Make sure you're thinking very, very carefully about where you are dropping your cards. All good? If you'd like to check me out, I should be live on Twitch later. I'm not sure what time. My son doesn't have any real plans. We're going to have a Father Sunday, so hanging out. But at some point, maybe even at night, I will be streaming for at least an hour. Check me out on twitch.tv/pulseglazer, please. And our season pass questions for those who are trying to win. I'm doing my last chance of review of Bullseye tomorrow. What is your review of Bullseye at the end of weekend missions? If you're interested in checking out a stream, once more, that's the name. All right, next up we have Mulwin Hand. Mulwin is an old top player who seemingly stopped playing Marvel Snap, but I mean, I got to show off my cool variants, right? I showed up my cool new hit Bullseye. I'm also showing off my cool new super gorgeous Sunspot. But what I did was I took his list and I was like, I don't want to run Gwenpool in this anymore. Gwenpool's fine, right? I'd much rather run Victoria Hand and Moonstone. Why? Well, if I duplicate cards with Moon Girl, all of a sudden Victoria Hand says I've got +2 to all of them. That's basically what Gwenpool did, but only for a few cards. The other thing that this opens up for me is I can obviously double that with Moonstone, right? That seems obvious. But I could also double up Quinjet, and that's the real goal. Victoria Hand's a nice bonus for me wanting a double Quinjet, because if I'm Moon Girl and then all my stuff costs 2 less, I'm sitting on a 1 cost Hit Monkey, and then other great powerful cards, right? Like a super cheap second copy of She-Hulk and so on, and all my ones are free from Black Swan. Now we're cooking with gas. The extra stuff here, Wasp and Makari, are here to keep my hand the way I want them. Makari going wherever the hell is basically fine, although it did lose me a game at some point today. I went 7-3 with this. It lost me 1 game because Makari was like, you know where I'd like to go, and landed directly into the Space Throne. We also have we want to hold on to Wasp because at the end of the game, if we can afford to hold on to Wasp with hand space, we're perfectly fine holding on to Wasp because it's an extra plus 2 power on the Hit Monkey. You get to play an 0-3 Wasp with Victoria Hand, and then you get an extra like 2 power on Hit Monkey, but if you're playing 2 Hit Monkeys, now you get an extra 4 power on Hit Monkeys, and we're really sinking. While the Wasp also has one's an 01, one's an 03. You get the idea. It's wild. All right. Hey, me. This is my deck. So the only thing you really need for this, I think, is Black Swan. Hydra Bob and Zabu can be Rocket Raccoon. Hope you can try and find another 1-drop. Kate Bishop is in versions of these. There's a few versions that run Mysterio. Victoria Hand and Moonstone can be Surtur and Gwenpool. I know those are other high series cards, but they're at least former season pass cards. At the end of the game, you tend to play between 3 and 4 10 cost cards, which means that your Surtur gets to be 10 to 13 power, which 10 to 13 power, which is usually enough to be worth running that card. I know that Vane Helsinger is running that, and we'll feature that deck at some point soon, a Surtur version of this, and Gwenpool is just fine. If you're adding Gwenpool, though, start to seriously consider adding Mysterio again, though, because Gwenpool hitting Mysterio into Hitmonkey is still a very strong play. It's just not a play that works especially well with this version that's not that's running Victoria Hand instead of Gwenpool. Makari is good, but Yellow Jacket is a perfectly fine replacement. You very often have an empty lane, and you can always just play it first. I don't think it's quite as good as Wasp because you basically never want to double it up, but it's decent, and it's especially decent with Iron Patriot because it helps you against Iron Patriot because it helps you stop that bullshit. So I went 7-3 with this. It was the first thing I played on yesterday's stream. You can find the VOD here on YouTube or on Twitch. Check it out if you're interested. Turn 1, you want Zabu over Quinjet or Sunspot. The reason you want Zabu is because you don't always get to Moonstone and Moon Girl in the same game. You can, but you don't always, right? And having Zabu make 1 cost 3 will often let you either A, play like a Quinjet with Moon Girl, which is obviously insanely strong, or B, do some other powerful plays. Turn 2, you want Swan over a 1 over Victoria Hand. Swan is important to get out, and it's hard to get Swan out if it's not turn 2 or 3. Turn 4 is almost always taken by another card, so you want to get Swan out on 2 or 3 if humanly possible. Your other plays are Zabu, Quinjet, and Sunspot, and obviously Zabu goes way down the priority list if you've already drawn Moonstone and Moon Girl. But if you can get Quinjet into Moonstone into Moon Girl, right, or vice versa, then all of a sudden the deck is just unbeatable, or feels damn near unbeatable. Turn 3 is combo 1 and 2. Turn 4, you can also end up playing that Moonstone or Moon Girl if you got them early. Turn 4, you want a Moonstone on Quinjet or Moon Girl. A lot of what determines this is whether you have She-Hulk or not. Moonstone on Quinjet is not especially good if you are trying to She-Hulk, right? Like if you're trying to She-Hulk, then all of a sudden Moon Girl is a priority, and you're not really worried about the Moonstone. It can just sit in hand and be cool. Just the Quinjet alone is fine. If you're trying, however, to double Monkey, you don't need to pass turn 5 anymore, right? And now Moonstone Quinjet's amazing, and Moon Girl's amazing, and you're all set when you do that. Turn 5 is pass or 4, and turn 6 is just play everything. Make sure you trigger Swan at the end of 5, please. That's it. This is the list. This list felt really good. It felt really legit, and I hope you'll give it a try. Let's get this a real sample size. Report to me as much as possible how you did with it. Check out the Stream Team 2. Later on today, the great Obi Haved will be streaming way before I do. 1 p.m. Eastern. Please check out Obi. Also Newman, and I don't actually know if Tucker played. I got to talk to Tuck. But also Newman will be releasing a video of some decks with this later this week. Questions of the day. Models ask how you remain productive when you're anxious about something. So I want to be clear that I don't have anxiety, but I do have things in life to be anxious about. Everyone does. Models knows some of what's going on with me. Um, I keep too busy to let the anxiety eat me. So what I do, like I know some people are paralyzed by it and can't do things. What I do is I stay so busy, I stay insanely busy, so that the things that it's not avoidance because I still think about them, right? But like I'm so busy that I'm also doing other things. I'm also being productive. And that productivity sort of, at least to some extent, not entirely, counterbalances some of the anxiety that exists mostly in my stomach. Um, yeah, as I'm trying to deal with things, a lot of what I do is I make sure I've got like 3 or 4 things that I could be doing. I have multiple to-do lists, and I'm not always in the mood to do something on one, right? Like I have to read or grade something, but I also have to make a slideshow, but I also want to read this book. I decided to start Mistborn. I read the first chapter of Mistborn last night. So I want to do X, Y, and Z, and I have this to-do list. I also have this phone call to make, and oh, I hate phone calls. But like I've got these whatever X amount of things to do on this to-do list, right? So when I'm starting to feel like jittery and watching TV or whatever else I might be doing, what I end up doing instead is I look at that list, or I have that portion of that list in my head, and whichever one of those feels most doable, I go do. Very often, in case you missed it, that's Marvel Snap. That's the Marvel Snap stuff because that almost always feels doable to me because it's fun for me. But there's always something. Sometimes it's Balatro. I've been watching Shrinking with my wife. I was feeling a little rough earlier after stream, and I watched like 2 or 3 episodes of Shrinking season 2, and that show is incredible. So like as long as I have something, things are going. Things are seem manageable. I have something to do, something to tackle. Chicken Nuggy asks about the tournament. Today is your last day to sign up for Snap Judgments League Season 5. Here's how this works. We have $400 in prizes and 8 season passes to give away. What's going to happen is if you sign up, it's $2 to sign up. It's $2 to join the Patreon, which is how you sign up. The reason is I'm willing to eat a lot of costs, but I do a ton of giveaways and stuff, and I need to still be able to like afford everything, right? So it's basically just my way of making sure that like I don't lose a ton of money on this, even though I still lose money every tournament. It's fine. So how this works is you get put in a pod of usually about 20 to 30 people, right? Within your pod, you play a bunch of people, and then you have a winner of that pod. The winner of that pod, and then there's a mini tournament at the top of the pod. The winner of that pod gets a season pass. They get put into the winners bracket of the tournament. The winners bracket of the tournament plays each other until for the $400 in prizes on top of that. Cool. In addition, I'm trying to, on Sunday streams, do a streaming day where people can submit videos of their games, and I will just pull them up on stream on Sundays and call them. I know how to play a video on stream. I'm going to go through games and call them and be like, here's what people are playing, here's what people are doing, and that'll be a stream. It's not going to be a video. It used to be a video, but Yeti would edit that, and Yeti doesn't do Snap anymore. So instead, it's going to be a live stream of me watching, talking about, and calling games, discussing decks, thinking about what people are doing, so on and so forth. So if that sounds good to you, please make sure you check it out. Please make sure you check out the tournament. Again, today is the very last day. Certain tiers of support on our Patreon come with on-air thanks. As I look at the time and realize it's 12:30, I always, when I get toward the end of the video, I always check the time, and I feel so bad. But I'm always like, oh my god, why is it so late? So thank you to Abigail Giesland, Mandatory Burnout. How you doing, my friend? Irregardless, David G. Wingfield, Dirty Casual LAB, Fop Thor Newman, Inc., Iron Frostman, Hota Navarrete, YOLO Potato, Thinking Poker, Primed Ryan, Ryan Burke, and Ryan Wood. Primed Ryan, by the way, is the Primed Mind app that is sponsoring the tournament. Keratixley, Koire, Kazuchi, Archangel 3K, Pyrophros, The Goat Seeker, Hallowed, Synth, Quid Pro Joe, Snap Decisions Joe, Frat Nick, Mr. Kerfuffle, Cables, Ginger Prime, Philip Rakovich, Haplo, Kenny Loggins of the Danger Zone, Rob Silverman, The Bizza, Black Jeeps 23, Extra and Skippy G, Rhyming Friends, Jessica Gamble, Slush Death, Mr. Slush Death, if you nasty, Mr. King of Bros, Bro, The Great Kazoo, Werewolf, Kevsy Hoda, Lunacris, Corwin, John Q, Jim McHugh, Clam, Colonel Forbin, You Stout 8th Sage, Mod Supreme Models, The Green Goblin, Unibot, Flan56, Steven, Brian Kaufman, Tristan H. Martin, Jason B., Only Fox, The Fuzzy Dump, Spectrumix, Woot, Matt H., DJ Mikey Hijinks, No Flex, Ocularis, Mr. Craig Sterry, PG, Zodrex, The King of Canada, Deadman Falcon, Jonesy, Two Ties, The Great Learned Devs, The Pirate King Tucker, and of course Gunny T, where the T stands for Woo! We done today. Hit that sub button by hitting the middle, watch some great videos, and I'll see you tomorrow with another Snap Take. I already know what the main deck is. We brought a Nihilist back, baby. Peace.